This is Allie Jones, student at Western Carolina and avid fly fisherman. However, Allie does fly fishing a little bit differently. She makes her own flies. Please watch this video and see how Allie makes this wonderful piece of art.
My thread painted, my dubbing stacked, you just kind of pull it apart and stack it. And I'm using the Gamakatsu saltwater hook in size 6. You can do it in a 4 too. And then, so to start with, for the tail, you're going to take one of the marabou plumes. And then measure it. And tie this down to about halfway. Probably a little less, but that's okay. Okay, now we're here. So now this is gonna be the first stack. So you want it to kind of start thin and then kind of get thicker as you go up. So in the video, if you don't know if you watch Kelly's video, he does it, he doubles his over, and that's kind of how I done it. So you really don't need a lot of this dubbing after you kind of stack it to make sure all the fibers are going the right way. I mean, I just pull off like a tiny bit. You can always add a little bit more if you need to, or you can cut some out. So I only have about, I mean, that's probably even a little bit too thick for this back one because you're going to double it over. So you don't want that much. About that's probably good. And then you're going to tie it in about the length of that white one of your marabou. And then you're going to do 2 wraps. And then you'll just double it over on itself like that. And then for my dubbing, for my body, he does a dubbing loop, or you can just dub it. But I'm using this Minnow Body ice dub, and you can kind of do whatever color as well. I don't like dubbing loops, takes too long. So I just kind of do a tight little dubbing on it. And he said you could use thin chenille too if you wanted to, but add a little more. So about there. Got a nice little ball of it. So then you're going to do the same thing again. It's kind of nice thing about this fly. It's kind of like the same thing over and over again. So get another little piece of marabou. And then you want it to go about halfway back to this section. So I kind of rotate my vise over and measure it. And then I'll tie it in. And then you can rotate it back over. Make sure you got it all tied in and it's not kind of sitting off to one side. So it likes to do that. And then tie all this loose ends down here. And then when you come here, you're going to get a little bit more of your dubbing now. So you're going to have a little bit of a thicker piece than you had before. So you're just going to tie it in about halfway and then fold it back on itself. Tie it down a little bit more. And then we add the next section. So a little bit of the minnow body. Add just a little bit more. Okay. Now we'll do the same thing again. Find a good piece of marabou. And And then you'll measure to about halfway back. Rotate it. Halfway back to that next section. And then you'll stack a little bit more. And you don't need a whole lot. A little bit goes a long way with this one. See how I got a little thicker? That one might have been too thick, but you can go back and cut some of that out. I think in his video he only does three sections, but I do an extra one. I do like about 4, depending on what size hook you use. And it just kind of was struggling getting the taper down, so if I did the extra set, it just kind of helps me with that. So you're going to wrap that minnow body. And then we're going to do the same thing again. You rotate it, put it here, tie it in. This will be the last section on this one. So you can wrap it all the way to the front. And then we'll add a little bit more dubbing. And you want to make sure it's stacked really well and all those fibers are going the same direction. And it's not just like a big clump. Take it, fold it back on top. And then you can just finish this off with a little bit of minnow body. And then whip finish it. And that's the back hook.